Hi everyone, Bill Rentschler in the 1011 Now streaming studio. Hope everyone is having a nice Monday afternoon. It's Monday, and that means it is Better Business Bureau Day. We're going to hang out with Josh Planos here from the Better Business Bureau. And again, has some helpful tips on, again, some things that are been going around over the past couple of weeks that we want folks to be aware about. Josh, again, always good to see you on a Monday afternoon. How has the start of the week been going for you?
It's been good, Bill. Happy to be back. Better Business Monday has a really good ring to it. I
Why
might.
have we not done that before? We've been going on this for almost a year now, and that's literally the first time either one of us has uttered that phrase.
It is short and sweet, but that is innovation right off the top. So
It
anyway, thank you
is.
for having me.
Yeah, so last week we talked about kind of stuff revolving the Super Bowl, and again, especially with the Chiefs going, which again, kind of local, but this week we're even talking something more local that's, again, potentially impacting consumers across, especially the eastern half of the state, and that's been some employment scams that you have seen a rise in over the past couple weeks. First, can you kind of walk us through what that is, and then kind of what people need to be known about?
Yeah, so we've fielded nearly a dozen local scam reports in the past 3 weeks about employment cons. We have actually issued a scam study on employment fraud relatively recently. If you go to bbb.org/scam studies, you can find that. But a lot of these, what has been reported to us follows a similar trend in that these are remote positions, the vast majority are, which is ideal for a lot of candidates, particularly younger ones who might be looking to wedge this opportunity into a college schedule or schedules that ideally don't revolve around working Fridays and Saturday nights. And so there is a lot of interest, right, in remote and hybrid flexibility. However, most of these positions involve requests for upfront payment to create a home office before you've received your first check, or in some cases, you've received that check, used it to secure home office equipment, and then the check bounces because typically it takes about a week for a check to clear in your account. And in that time, you can do an awful lot of damage if you're feeling like you're working with a certain amount of money that actually doesn't exist. So, fortunately, there are some red flags to look out for, but these are actually very legitimate looking employment opportunities. In some cases, these positions have been secured through LinkedIn or reputable job hiring boards. This is not as though someone has received an email notification that might be a little bit more suspect. These are folks who are actively searching for job opportunities at places where you would secure legitimate job opportunities. And unfortunately, there are folks who are masquerading scams under the guise of new employment. And so we want the public to be on alert for this. There are a couple of steps that you can take to make sure that that job is legitimate as possible before you provide any sort of personal information, which all job applications require of you. Um, that's essentially what we have seen in recent weeks.
I mean, all scams are bad, but I suppose you could say some maybe are worse than others. And again, this is one of those scenarios where you're looking to target people who are already maybe out of work and have money issues and are looking for work. And then again, you're taking their what little they potentially have left. So again, this is a particular one that again that we really really don't like.
Without a doubt, I would say scams, the vast majority of scams are drawing upon folks who are already on the margins and are really looking to, who in some cases are living paycheck to paycheck, are looking to, in some cases, get out of prior situations that may or may not be, their responsibility. But unfortunately, with employment scams, you're talking about folks who are really trying to better their future and are being turned away. And not only that, but in some cases, experiencing identity theft, which can take years to correct, or to really feel like you're on the other side of it. So most of these positions that we have seen that folks are being hired for follow a similar pattern, in that they involve things like mystery shopping, reshipping, which is essentially somebody sends you a package, you open up the package, repackage a good and send it on its way. There's really no scenario in which that would be a legitimate occupation, as far as I can tell. It seems like the creation of a logistics hurdle, which of
Hmm.
course you could see why that might be beneficial to a criminal gang.
Mm.
But in some of these cases, they also involve car wrap job offers. So we send you a wrap for your vehicle, and the position doesn't exist or the company doesn't exist. But there are a few tips and recommendations that we have for folks to stay clear of what it is that's been reported to us.
And again, a lot of times you'd like to think that you would be able to easily discern, like, oh, this is clearly a scam. But like you mentioned, if you go to LinkedIn, if you spend any time on LinkedIn, you know, you'd think that because it's LinkedIn and it's this professional place, everything's above board. But they are sneaking into these places where there are, you know, tons of legitimate job opportunities. And so again, just some extra caution when you're going through, especially these online job postings, would be definitely worth it. Well worth your time.
Without a doubt, doing your research, like we talk about each and every week about each and every topic, is essential, right? You want to make sure you're going to that company website to ensure that that job posting actually exists there as well, rather than just uh, essentially assuming that the position is legitimate just because it's on an Indeed, it's on a ZipRecruiter, it's on a LinkedIn. You want to make sure that you're double checking, right? That position is actually found on the careers tab of that company website. It's just a nice additional step to take to ensure that that position actually exists in a similar way that we would encourage folks to look on a popular retailer site if they're advertising on social media that they've got a discount offer, right? You don't need to have clicked on that ad to access that discount. You just need to verify that it exists in the first place. If it's a company that you've never heard of, there might be a reason for that. Ideally, you would check out that business on bbb.org to see if they've been around for a little while, if they have contact information, which every legitimate company should have, and whether or not folks have fallen for similar experiences with these companies previously. We report on every report that comes into us. We make it aware. We make customers aware that we've fielded those reports. So, if it's a company you've never heard of, you go to their site, you see that they've been involved in a pattern of complaints involving employment cons. Chances are you're probably not going to ultimately apply for that position. Also, double and triple check that email address of those who are offering jobs to you to see if it matches the protocols used by actual companies. Particularly, what we've seen is that there are Gmail business email addresses used in a lot of these scams. Most companies have their own domain name, right? So they wouldn't have a need for a Gmail account, which is free, and there are significantly fewer loopholes to jump through to create just a Gmail account than there are for you to spoof a legitimate sounding business email address. So those are a few things that we've monitored that are real through lines for the reports that have come into us.
Yeah, and certainly again, it never hurts to call and be like, "Hey, is this real?" Because on the worst end, you're gonna hear him say, "No, that's not us," and that's going to save you the trouble of potentially putting in personal information. And if not, they're going to say, "Yeah, please apply." And maybe that phone conversation moves your resume up to the top of the list or something like that.
Without a doubt. Another thing we would recommend is we talk about this pretty regularly with sweepstakes and lottery type scams. If you're paying for the promise of something, it is almost certainly a scam. You would never need to pay a certain amount of money to access your lottery winnings, just like you would never need to pay a certain amount of money for the promise of a job. Typically, the job pays you, right? At least that's the way it should be working.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone is asking for upfront payment to secure a remote position, legitimate businesses do not conduct business that way. So you can walk away from that experience right off the bat. And then, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, beware of jobs that involve receiving and forwarding money or goods. Typically, that's a logistical hurdle that would be probably not in the business's best interest to have somebody standing between the product getting to the consumer, right? So anytime you see something like that, it's probably a scam, but you want to do, again, your due diligence, do your research on that company in question to make sure that that opportunity is an actual opportunity. And then another thing that we mentioned when we were talking about tax-related scams, a lot of personal information is provided when you apply for any position, right? your full address, your birth date, in some cases your financial information, in addition to what is included on your resume. You have a lot of information if you're an employer on everybody who works for you. That is a enticing opportunity for a scammer who is looking to not only generate a quick payout, but also have access to that personal digital footprint such that they can scam that person continually moving forward, right? And once you have access to all of that information, it's very difficult to ever feel secure with your identity until you jump through a number of logistical hurdles. So be cautious about where you're providing that personal information. That should be kept as sensitive as possible, and you want to make sure that it's not going to end up in the wrong hands.
And so, obviously, not good that we've seen kind of an uptick in these in the eastern part of the state over the past few weeks. But also at the same time, it is being reported to you guys, which is good because that's what we want to see happen. So again, if you, a family member, a friend, has maybe gone through something in the last few weeks, let BBB know. You guys will again help, put the word out there like we are right now that this is something we need to watch out for, and again, help coordinate maybe with again the law enforcement side of things to potentially bring some restitution if you guys can.
And we will report it to the company in question, right? In some cases, these are businesses that you've never heard of for a reason. In other cases, they are hiding behind reputable companies that are simply not posting the position, right? Somebody's pretending to be a recruiter, pretending to work for a Fortune 500 company that you've heard of, because again, then there's some built-in name recognition. There's a little bit of trust that goes with those interactions. In those cases, we do make those companies aware that they are being impersonated, and these companies want to know that, right? The only way we can ever, suss out the amount of fraud that we see is to know that it actually exists. And nearly all of these companies have fraud detection or customer service or HR departments that want these experiences to not happen anywhere. So the best thing you can do is to report the experience. Please do not walk away from that job posting and say, oh, that's just a vague thing that nobody would fall for that. People are falling for these. And it's really important to get the word out. And the only way we can is if we're made aware that someone is experiencing it. So there is no threshold that needs to be met. Please report your experience, and we will do the rest of the work.
And so obviously everything we've kind of been talking about has been on the consumer side of things. If we flip that coin onto the business side of these things, is there any tips, tricks, again, that the BBB has for businesses to try and safeguard against these potential bad actors who are, maybe using, their name to try and perpetuate these?
Yeah, a general interest in policing the activity that revolves around your company, whether legitimate or not, is always beneficial. Using verified accounts, if you're using social media channels to get the word out that you've got hiring opportunities, that's always going to be a fantastic way to let prospective applicants know that they're dealing with the legitimate business in question. So getting those accounts verified. But also once we bring this information forward to you, to do your due diligence and make sure that you're using a branded job postings, things that look a little bit more thought out, right, than just kind of your general Word document. Things that are distinguishing, right, distinguishing characteristics, whether it's a watermark, a header or a footer, things like that to legitimize your posting is always going to be beneficial.
So, again, this has been the last 2 weeks, you said, 3 weeks that you've really seen this uptick?
Yes, and certainly since 2024, and particularly in eastern Nebraska.
All right, so again, something for everyone to potentially be aware of. And again, if you see it, say something. Again, I'm sure it's pretty easy to report this stuff to you guys at the BBB. So again, we try and make that as easy as possible. So again, we can get the awareness out there. Josh, anything else that we need to discuss today, whether it be this topic or any other topic that you might want to talk about?
I would say there's going to be a lot of betting opportunities in the next week. If you are interested in the NFL postseason, make sure that opportunity actually exists. So if somebody is cold calling you or sending you unsolicited communication about prop bets, any sort of bets, one, you want to make sure that you're abiding by, the state law. But two, you also want to make sure that that opportunity actually exists. There are a lot of fraudulent and fake betting opportunities that will be floating in and around the state over the next week, and you want to make sure that you're avoiding those.
That sounds like a segment we should probably do in the future.
It does. It does. Mental note taken.
Mental note, because I know, again, the sports, or the whether it's FanDuels or whatever it is, the app betting, it's legal in Iowa. It's still, I think, I'm not even sure what the law is still yet in Nebraska, but I know you can't do it here yet. I don't know if it's going to be in the near future, but I'm sure there's lots of shady things that a lot of shady people can do involving those types of things that we need to talk about. And to tease ahead to next week, since next week it is Valentine's Day, we'll have some romance-related topics to talk about.
We will. It's high time, unfortunately, for romance fraud. I hope that folks have a fantastic lead into Valentine's Day, but sadly, there will be some who are not having that experience. So again, try to do your due diligence. We'll provide some tips and best practices to avoid what we sadly see each and every February.
All right, so you have that to look forward to next week. Josh, thank you, as always, for all of your time. Much appreciated. Hope you have a nice Monday, okay?
Thanks. You too, Bill.
All right, again, that was Josh Planos with the Better Business Bureau. Always appreciate his time and his expert advice on all that information. So, again, employment scams, watch out for that. Again, we've seen a rise in that over the last several weeks, especially in eastern Nebraska. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in, for watching. Again, as always, keep it tuned to 1011, both on air and online, for all the latest news, weather, and sports. And until next time, folks, hope everyone has a nice Monday.